It looks like Carey Price will return this season. Looks like Jake Allen will be back in a couple of weeks. Samuel Montembeault is healthy. Andrew Hammond is out with an injury. Has he played his last game with the Montreal Canadiens? Yes or no? What will the organization do? What should they do? I'll tell you what I'll do coming up on the Sick Podcast.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro. The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
And now a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Sports entertainment like no other. Brought to you by 8.6 Beer, intense by nature, and La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you.
Welcome, Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, and you can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, at the Sick Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Sick Podcast. It's absolutely for free, and you will be notified, by the way you can, every time we upload an episode or every time we go live. It's a beautiful thing. And the Sick Podcast is brought to you by 8.6 Beer. Intense, like me, by nature, the beer for those who follow their instinct and live their passions in order to make their mark. And brought to you by La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's about time that you go back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you. I've already been a couple of times, and my 9-ounce AAA Angus steak, I upgraded from the fries to the all-dressed baked potato, a beautiful chef salad. My wife had the Caesar salad, and she had the rack of ribs, as a matter of fact. La Cage, download the app. It's an awesome place. They've revamped, like I want the Canadiens to revamp. I want the Canadiens to revamp the way La Cage has revamped. And in terms of the revamping, that's exactly where I'm going to go. I want to talk to you about the goalie situation because Stefan Waite, who's joined us on the Sick Podcast before, who was Carey Price's former goalie coach and is close to Carey, Stefan Waite is convinced that Carey Price will be back this season. We know that he's already skated a couple of times. He's attempting to come back. The knee has not flared up this time around, and it looks like things are headed in the right direction. Jake Allen, who's out of the lineup with an injury, we're hearing should be back within a couple of weeks. Andrew Hammond is out of the lineup with an injury right now. And with the big team is Samuel Montembeault, who's healthy, and Caden Primo. So what will the Canadiens' goaltending situation look like between now and the end of the year? What are Gordon and Hughes thinking, and what should it look like? I'm going to tell you. This is the way I look at it. A lot of fans are excited. The Canadiens have won 7 of their last 8 games. Ça sent la coupe, and if Marty St. Louis would have been there since the beginning of the season, the Canadiens would have made the playoffs, this, that, whatever, and all that stuff. Folks, I think we need to be realistic. And if we want to be realistic, here's the deal. Reality is usually somewhere in the middle. I think the Canadiens aren't as bad as the team that we saw before Martin St. Louis. And clearly he shows that coaching matters. And I don't think the team is as good as the team that has won 7 of their last 8. So I think they're somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle may make you a playoff team. It may not. But if you go down that path, maybe in, maybe out, just to get in, if you do hope something happens, chances are you're not going to have that long-term sustained competitiveness the way Gordon and Hughes want this team to be headed in. They want them to be competitive for a very long period of time. So what does that mean? Okay, let's take a look at the goalie situation. Carey Price. He turns 35 in August. He was fantastic last year in the playoffs. Better in the first 3 rounds than he was in the final. Then again, in the final, they played the best team that they played the entire playoff. But He did not have a good regular season. The regular season before that, he did not have a good regular season. 2 regular seasons before that, he did not have a good regular season. So save percentages of 909, 901, under 900, that's not good enough. Chances are Carey Price is more that goalie than he is the goalie that had one great run in him when they had the deepest team that they've had in a long time. So when he comes back, and add to that the knee injury, and add to that he was in the players' assistance program when the season started, I don't expect you to see the Carey Price of old. I expect you to see an old Carey Price who has something left, but not enough. Jake Allen. He's 32, or will turn 32 in August. He has 1 year left on his deal next year, which pays him $2.875. Carey Price, by the way, has 4 years left at $10.5. Samuel Montembeault, 25 years old, final year of his contract, $750,000. Andrew Hammond, 34 years old, final year of his contract, $750,000. For those who believe that the Canadiens are on the right track, they've won 7 of their last 8, don't touch nothing, next year with Marty St. Louis there at the beginning of the year, and this, that, and whatever, and all that stuff, they're going to be very competitive. You're probably going to say, you know what? Don't touch Price, don't touch Allen, come back with both. I tell you, I disagree. You don't want to rebuild because the word scares you, because a rebuild is a little bit longer. You don't have to put a term on it. You don't have to put a word on it. You don't have to call it a rebuild. But you want to get younger. You want to save money off the cap. You want to shave off of the cap. And so you know that you're going to have to part ways with Carey Price for sure. Now, that's the hardest out of all of them, is finding ways to part ways with Carey Price. One-way trade, you pick up half the contract. Three-way trade, you pick up half, the other team picks up something. Buying him out, or maybe he goes on long-term injury reserve if he can't make a comeback. I don't know. But I say this, folks, it's easy now to watch them win, to get all excited again. The viewership numbers are going up. The fan base is reinvigorated. The team is re-energized. They have to stick to the plan that Gordon and Hughes had when they brought them here. When Gordon came here, it was to revamp, rebuild. When he brought in Hughes, it was to revamp, rebuild. So all of you getting excited right now, I say, it's nice, but please, let's not get carried away. And let's not lose focus of what they need to do, because if you try and patch this thing again, within a couple of years from now, you're going to find yourself saying, okay, how do we get out of this? How do we get out of this? How do we get out of this? And I know some of you are going to say, well, rebuild doesn't always work. Take a look at Buffalo. Take a look at Arizona. Take a look at Edmonton. They did it wrong. They did it wrong. So hey, you have to do it right. You don't have to call it a rebuild if you don't want to. It is the Sick Podcast, and you can follow us on all social media platforms. And I am Marinaro. And for Betway, for the love of the game, I can tell you that you can sign up and deposit on Betway for 100% deposit bonus. The easiest sports book for Canadians. E-transfers are accepted, and once you deposit, it gets deposited within 1 minute. And the reason why I talk to you about Betway is because I would put my money on the Montreal Canadiens moving their goaltenders. Jake Allen, if there's a team that wants him right now, and there are teams that are desperate for a goalie, you move him. Carey Price will be more difficult because he probably has to come back, still show that he can play. And then in the offseason, at the draft, or in the summer, if you can move him, you move him. And if you think Andrew Hammond, I don't know if I want to, you can always bring back Andrew Hammond if you want. He can be a backup to Samuel Montembeault. if you're rebuilding. If you don't like that, then you don't bring back Andrew Hammond. He's UFA at the end of the year. You can actually trade him too if you want now. Maybe get something for him. If you don't get nothing for him, you can't get anything for him, then keep him till the end of the year, and then you let him walk. Jake Allen, he comes back. Team's desperate for a goalie. You trade him. Folks, don't make this mistake of getting all carried away of winning 7 of your last 8 and you think you're going to go back to the Stanley Cup final next year. All right? Gordon and Hughes told you they want to be very good for a very long period of time. So how do you do that? You trade away players. You get draft picks. Even better, you get prospects. Prospects who are closer to making a National Hockey League debut than a drafted pick would be. And you already have intel on those draft picks. That's the way I would handle it. For sure. 100%. That's the way they should handle it. I'm going to take it a step further. Artturi Lehkonen is playing the best hockey of his career. His value has never been higher. Everyone's looking at him, okay, 3 years, 10 million, 3 years, 12 million, 4 years, 16 million, whatever, throwing it all. Trade him. Trade him. Trade him. Why not? I like Artturi Lehkonen. Good player, gives you an honest effort. Is Artturi Lehkonen an untouchable? Is he an untouchable? No, you can't trade Lehkonen. You can't replace him. Rem Pitlick can replace Artturi Lehkonen tomorrow. He might not be better than him every game, but he will be some games. And he comes in younger, and he'll come in cheaper. It's not like Lehkonen is irreplaceable, right? But when a player's value is at a high, and you want to get younger, and you want to be better for a long period of time, you trade. They've already talked about equating a player's value to the stock market. Gordon and Hughes have. Saying players' value, they're at a low, and if the player's not an untouchable and we're going to trade him eventually, we have to wait for the player's value to get higher. Artturi Lehkonen's value right now is the highest it's ever been. Trade him. Ben Sherratt's value right now is the highest it's ever been. Trade him. If when Jake Allen comes back and a lot of teams look at him and say, you know what, we need a goalie like this down the stretch, Edmonton, or a couple of points out of a playoff spot, trade him. That's the way I look at it. For all of you who want to be great next year, you can go all in again. But if it didn't work the last time you went all in, when you had Shea Weber, Carey Price at his best, a healthy Joel Edmondson, Corey Perry, Eric Stahl, Philip Danault, Gallagher playing better, the line of Danault, Gallagher, and Tatar. The Tatar got replaced by Lehkonen. There was a little bit of Jake Evans. They were in a weaker division. They had an easier path. If it didn't give you then what the ultimate prize is, why would it give it to you now if Danault's gone, Tatar's gone, Gallagher's taken a step back, Weber's not there anymore, Edmondson's not yet healthy, Price is not the goalie he used to. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So I say trade. That's what I say. I also say this is a smooth shave. Manscaped. You want to shave money off the cap? The way I shave money off my fist, my wrist, my arms, my chest, even the sideburns. There we go. This is how the Canadians should shave money off the cap. Manscaped style. Use code SICK20 and manscaped.com for 20% off on all of their items with free shipping. And that's it. So, Carey Price turns 35 in August. $10.5 million. Not the goalie that he used to be. 3 of his last 4 regular seasons not good. Injuries adding up. Getting older. Jake Allen turns 32 in August. Will have 1 year left on his deal, a 2.875. If he's your goalie next year, it's not the end of the world. But this is what I would do. I identify a goalie who's young, like Montembeault, who you can grow with, who has more potential, a higher ceiling. That goalie becomes my number one. Montembeault becomes my number two. And that's the way I play it out. I keep Caden Primo at least 1 more year in Laval to make him develop. In 1 year from now, we're going to revisit. That's the way I would handle it. The toughest thing out of all of them, we already know. I'm not, you're not learning anything here by me telling you this. I'm not teaching you anything. The toughest thing is going to be to find a taker for Carey Price. But my message today for all of you is, if you want to move forward with Carey Price and Jake Allen as your goalie duo, and you want to patch this thing up in the summer, I'm saying we've been there. We've done that. We've done the whole patching thing. It doesn't work. And I always bring you back to what they want to accomplish, something that's sustainable. When Marc Bergevin was the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, they had some good years, some not so good years, some good years, some not so good years. They were never able to sustain the good years and have it be sustainable. Last year, they went all in. They fell short. It crumbled. If you want to keep patching and at one point you want to go all in, it's going to crumble again. To build a house, all right, if you have an old house, you can renovate it all you want. At the end of the day, it's old. You have a few nice pieces in the house, sell those nice pieces, tear the house down, build it up again, new foundation, new pillars, new this, new that, and you go out and you shop and you get the best bang for your buck, the best value that you can get, instead of having overpriced things in a house that's old and falling apart. Marinaro, look at me, huh? MatrixHomeFitness.ca, dropping a couple of pounds, and not just because I got a haircut. Bring it home. Discover a club quality workout in the comfort of your own home. Visit MatrixHomeFitness.ca. And with all these goalies out with injuries, Hammond, Allen, Price, I would imagine that some of them, like me, have been on the treadmill. Chances are they last a little bit longer than I do on the treadmill, that is, of course. But anyway, that's it for me. Thanks, everyone, for watching. What would you do with the Canadiens goalies? What will Jeff Gorton want to do? What will Kent Hughes want to do? What will Martin St. Louis want to do? The coach is probably going to want to have the best goalies possible. But then again, if you can shave $10.5 million off the cap over the next 4 years, even if you have to pay half of it, so you can shave $5.75 million off the cap, what if that 5.75 goes to a puck-moving defenseman? What if it ends up going to a guy who can score 25 or 30 goals? I'd rather have a 30-goal scorer or a 25-goal scorer or a puck-moving defenseman than have a 35-year-old Carey Price, whose regular seasons in 3 of the last 4 years don't even have him in the top 45 goalies in the league. Think about that one. Marinaro, the Sick Podcast.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by 8.6, Intense by Nature, and Lacage. If the last time you went to Lacage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to Lacage. The menu will surprise you.